Your focus is the absolute key for you to be successful and to be very productive, very effective in what you want to accomplish, both in your private life and your business life. Everybody says, time management, but you cannot manage time. You can't say, I'm going to be very busy today, I'll take 30 hours, and tomorrow I don't need it so much, I'll take 18 hours. You can't manage time. You're given the same amount of time. It's what you do at that time, and particularly what is your focus. And there's a very interesting story. You might have heard this story, but there's a story where a professor brings a glass jar into the class. And he puts it on the table, and he puts very large rocks, fills all the way up to the top of the jar. And he says to the class, is the jar full? The class says, yeah, it looks full to me. Takes small pebbles. Small pebbles goes all around the big rocks in the jar, comes all the way up to the top, says, is the jar full? This time the class doesn't know, it thought it was full last time. Then takes sand. Sand fills all around the rocks and the pebbles, fills up to the top of the jar. Is the jar full? This time class isn't saying anything. Then he takes water. Water soaks the sand, fills it all the way up to the top of the jar. And he goes to the class, goes, why did I do that? What's the purpose? And someone in the class says, to show how much you can fit in a jar. Yeah, it's true. Smart guy. But you can fit the same amount in your life, too. As long as you get the most important things in, the big rocks, into your life first. You cannot fit those big rocks into that jar if you put the sand and the water and all the other things into the jar first. You have to put what's most important into the jar, the rocks. Then you can fit a lot of other things around it. How many times have you had a very, very productive day, and your partner calls up, can you pick up something on the way home and so forth, and you don't mind because you succeeded in accomplishing everything you did. But then you had a very unproductive day, doing what everybody else wanted you to do, none of your priorities, and then your partner calls up and says, can you pick this up, can you pick this up, and you get agitated because it's more sand and water on a day that was all sand and water. So it's very, very important to have a focus and understand what your rocks are. And the reason the focus is very important because the focus determines the choices about how you choose to use your time. What you say yes to and what you say no to. So if you don't have a focus, or in particular you don't have goals aligned with that focus, you're going to say yes and no to whatever comes to you, and there's no criteria. There's no basis for saying yes or no if you don't have your own focus or goals. It's kind of like if you're going through life, instead of in the driver's seat, meaning you have a focus and goals and you say yes or no, you turn left or right, you're sitting in the passenger seat and you're being driven all around in your life, just like you're being driven all around the city if you don't have a focus. So a focus is absolutely key because it determines the choices on how you use your time. And if you don't use your time in an effective way, you don't accomplish what you'd like to do. And most of the people do not have a focus. Most people don't have written down goals. And it's not directing them. They're not being pushed to decide yes or no on anything, and they tend to accept and say yes to too many things, and at the end of the day or end of the week they say, where did all my time go? And they said yes to all these things, but they didn't have a focus to do the comparison. It's very, very powerful to have it in your mind what your focus is, because that's what you're saying yes and no to all along, but also that's what you're telling your subconscious mind what's important. If your subconscious mind doesn't know what's a rock and what's sand and water and so forth, it cannot help you go and get what you want.